Nice. Cool. Well, I guess we'll get started. We're live here. Welcome, Jordan Martinook, to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I asked a couple friends of mine that are NHL fans if they had any questions for you, and the most common question was where the whole Mr. Svechnikov pregame ritual came in and how that started.
Well, that goes back a few years when I was playing in Arizona, and just recently the I guess inspiration behind that was this older gentleman who was our as soon as you drive up to the rink in Arizona, we had like you went and parked down a gate kind of by like the loading dock or whatever, but they had this older gentleman that would talk to you before you went down, and then you'd go through the gate or whatever. And it was just like, he was almost like a Walmart greeter, but he just greeted all the players, and he was awesome. And his name was Lou. And he actually he just passed away a couple weeks ago, which kind of had brought the story kind of back into my mind, like why I did it, because I used to drive with a couple guys, Tobias Reeder and Connor Murphy. I think Toby's with Buffalo now, and Connor's in Chicago. And so I drive to the rink with these guys, and Lou, every time we'd pull up, he'd go, Mr. Connor, Mr. Toby. So then I used to do it to Toby, but obviously we never made it to the playoffs, so it never got big. And I'd go, Mr. Toby, before every game. And then last year my first year with Svech, I did something totally different with him. I do, like I said, like Mother Russia, and we played on a line with another guy, and I do something with him too. And then he said last year he wanted something new. He's like, do something new. And I said, okay. So then I thought of going back to like my Mr. Toby, and then the Mr. Svechnikov thing just worked out perfect. So Lou was my inspiration, and it's too bad he left us. He was a sweet guy, and definitely brought a smile to your face every time you came to the rink when I was in Arizona. That's for sure.
Yeah. Can you give us one, or is it going to wake your kid up?
I might wake my kid up, but I could do a small one. I don't know if I can do a small one, but Mr. Svechnikov. That's as good as I can do, or else I'm waking him up.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I swear, man, like out of watching all of the bubble hockey throughout the playoffs, like that thing just went viral. Like, as simple as it is and as silly as it seems, like everybody started talking about Mr. Svechnikov.
I think it goes viral just because, like, even like my own teammates, they'll like look at me and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then we were playing the Rangers. They actually posted a video. This is the best thing ever. They posted a video of their team getting ready to come out for one of the periods, and it was like ready for the third or ready for the second, and they had sound on it, and all you could hear the entire video was me screaming. and their whole team's just kind of like looking over their shoulders, and like the looks on their faces. And I think it must have been like game 3, because they looked kind of defeated a little bit. And it was priceless. The fact that the Rangers posted that on social media.
Yeah, no kidding. That's unreal. So like the pregame ritual, I'm interested in that, like doing something that I guess other people would see as weird or whatever, is that a part of it, just like to build camaraderie within your team? Or
I don't know. I feel like I just find weird shit to do. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this, but
dude, of course, yeah. No,
I feel like I think when I came to Carolina, I felt like I fit in so well, and it was a quiet team, and I felt like I needed to try and like bring some personality out of some people. And so then I just started acting like, kind of not like an idiot, but I just would do weird things. And like the Mr. Svechnikov thing is nothing compared to what I do like before while we're getting dressed. I have like obviously my routine. I get ready for the game. We play soccer and then stretch, and to go through like my my own kind of thing. And then I always shower right before I get dressed. And that, but like after I shower and before I get dressed, I do a naked lap around the dressing room, and I dance to Nickelback Animals in front of everybody. And
Oh, geez.
yeah, so there's been guys that get traded and guys that obviously don't know what's coming, and then I come flying out and they don't know what to expect. And I don't know, it's just something I do, and it's become like I just do it. And
Yeah.
it,
Did you do
it
that
gets
as
the
a
boys.
rookie, or did it take a
No,
few years to
no,
gain
no,
some
no.
confidence?
I just started doing it when I came to Arizona, or came to Carolina. I
Yeah.
never did it in Arizona, but now, and it's just, it gets the boys, everybody kind of cheers and gets fired up. And then that kind of signal, that like kind of is like the last, signifies like, okay, now it's time to get serious type thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's worked. And I don't know how long I'll be able to do that. People might be questioning me. I think this is the first time I've actually told, this is gonna go viral probably,
The
that I
naked
dance
lap.
around naked in
That's
front of the
hilarious.
boys.
Yeah, totally. I love it. That's like, yeah, I see I feel like just especially in hockey, like you gotta kind of bring people out of their zone a little bit to kind of lighten the load a little bit, you know? And I think like people may not know, but you and I played hockey together when we were kids. And I feel like when I look back on it, you were always really good at that. You know, you were just very unique, and maybe young Jeremy kind of viewed that as weird or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Young,
yeah.
immature, ego-driven Jeremy thought that was weird back in the day, but I feel like that works, man. So like good for you for doing that. Do you think that's a part of like your leadership technique or
Yeah, I definitely think it is. It's just, I feel like I definitely found like a home here where I can act like myself and people don't judge me about it. And I still did some weird stuff in Arizona too, but not like Carolina. It just feels like, and I don't get me wrong, like I know when to be serious and I can be serious too. But I think like we're playing a game. We're playing a game for a living. It's
yeah.
obviously like it's so much fun.
Hmm.
And why not have fun with it? If you go through every day like serious, and that you're gonna just take everything super serious, it'll kind of drag the fun out of it. And I think that's part of what I try and do. I every time we have like a new, like a rookie or like a guy playing his first game, I'll always say to him, I'm like, this is the best job in the world. Like
Hmm.
you're playing hockey. And you got to have fun with it, or else and obviously I've went through times where I've not had a ton of confidence or struggled a little bit, and it's kind of, and you can tell like my mood changes. And I feel like if my mood changes and some other, like it'll be like people kind of be wondering like, okay, what's wrong with Marty? Like there might be something going on. And then I feel like I always need to kind of be positive and be like kind of like a goof or whatever, just to keep everybody else light.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I felt like that I've just kind of found that thing that works. And it works for me because it keeps me happy at the rink and then keeps me happy at home. And like
Hmm.
I could go a stretch without scoring for 15, 20 games, but as long as I'm having fun at the rink, I think that I'm still making a positive impact to the team.
Hmm. Yeah, like you mentioned that it's the best job in the world. And one thing, like especially growing up and me at one point having dreams of making the NHL, just like so many people, you just see it as this job with rainbows and butterflies. But I'm curious, like, are there any, or like, what are the shitty parts of the job? Like, what suck about it? You know, what would somebody that's young and like envisioning themselves in the NHL know about the reality of the job?
Well, I'd say the wear and tear it has on your body is probably the number one thing that if I'm telling people, like, I'm 28 years old, and there's a lot of days I wake up and a lot of things hurt. And but then there's a lot of days I feel really good. So but yeah, you get beat up throughout the year. I had a pretty significant surgery a year and a half ago that is probably it's not like, if people really, when I tell people, they're like, how the hell did you do that type thing? And obviously there's the business, like especially when you get to the pro level, there's the business side of it, like what we're kind of going through right now with the NHL and the NHLPA. You're two sides that need to decide on stuff that when you're a kid you just go out and play, and now it's like, okay, well, we need to discuss the business side of things, which sucks. And yeah, there's obviously expectations that get put on you, especially when you're making a lot of money to play a game. People expect things from you. So but at the end of the day, it's hockey, and we've been playing this for over, some of us, 25. I've been playing for 25 years, so I know how to do it. And yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's fun though. For me, I love going to the rink every day, and it's as much as all the bumps and bruises and the shitty thing, it all gets outweighed by you're playing hockey.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. When you're going through injuries and surgeries, like, is there ever any worry that like you're not going to make it back to what you were, or like what goes on in your head when you're not going through like game day every day, you know? Like, what is that
Yeah,
like?
yeah, no, like last year was, so I got hurt in playoffs my first year in Carolina, so that would have been 2019. And then I got a surgery right after playoffs. Did my rehab, but I had tore my groin right off the pubic bone, so I done an absolute number to my pelvis, pubic region, groin region. And then I rehabbed it all summer, and then was started training, and I felt like it was good. And then I came back and just started skating, and I just could feel something, and it just felt off. And so then I got another MRI, and I had a piece of bone growing on my groin that was the size of an egg. So they had to go in and take that out. And then I felt like I was kind of behind all year, just because I had the surgery. I didn't get a full summer to really train and skate. And then I had another surgery like 2 weeks into the season, and then I had to rehab that one and then try and get up to pace. So last year was a really tough year mentally, just because I felt like I was behind all year, and I was trying hard, but I just felt like I didn't have like the jump that I used to. And that there was definitely some days where I was like, oh my, like this I can't keep up, and I'm struggling. And then obviously with COVID and the pause, I got to train and skate and kind of get my confidence back. And then I had a really good bubble and playoffs. So then that kind of reassured me, like, okay, you can still do this. You can still scoot around out there. And I kind of needed that. COVID was actually a blessing in disguise for me, because I needed that time just to kind of find my game and find myself again. And then obviously the bubble to gain the confidence that I know I can play, and I know I can do this again. But yeah, that was a good question, just because there was some times last year where I was definitely doubting myself, and
Yeah.
my wife would probably echo that statement.
Yeah, and let's say even just mid-season when you're playing, and let's say you're in one of those 15 goal droughts, like what do you do to get yourself out of that rut and keep going?
Yeah, I wish I had the magic statement for that, but yeah, it's just repetition. And I feel like practice, when you're not scoring, you need to like treat every shot in practice like it's a shot in a game. And I feel like if I'm going through a slump, I'll kind of look back on some of the other goals I've scored, and um I'll I'll like see I'll like have like visions of me scoring where I'm watching them. And obviously like the practice thing where I'm trying to score as many goals as I can, and then hopefully it translates. And that's all you can do, I guess. Put yourself in good spots on the ice, and yeah, other than that, sometimes they go in and sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Is there, I'm curious because obviously it's easy to measure your success in terms of goals and assists and points, but then there's also the defense side, right? So like, is there anything you look at in terms of stats on the defense end that make you realize when you're in a goal drought that you're still playing good defense, or you're still like killing it on the PK or whatever?
Yeah, I think I know when I'm playing good. So
Yeah.
I've there's been times where I haven't been scoring and I know I'm playing like shit.
Hmm.
But then there's times where I haven't scored, but I know I'm close, or I'm getting a ton of chances. And I feel like if you're a bottom six player and you're getting a lot of chances and playing out in the offensive zone a lot, then you're going to be gaining momentum. And I feel like penalty kill is a mainstay in my game where I'm always pretty confident in that, and I feel like that builds into my other parts of my game. But yeah, it's hard. I feel like especially at this level, it's all about confidence. If you're feeling good about yourself, then it's going to translate, and it's all about kind of riding the wave when you're feeling confident and trying to stay on it as long as you can.
Hmm. And then I'm curious, like, let's say before you made it to the big leagues, like junior and stuff, was there ever a moment where you realized that you needed to like change your game or anything in order to make it to the big leagues? Or did you always just play Jordan Martinook hockey? Like, was there ever any information from a coach or a GM or whatever that was just like, hey, like this needs to change? Or did anything just click in your mind where like you think it really did help you make it to the show?
Yeah, no, I would say it was my coach in Vancouver, Don Hay, was the one that kind of put it all into perspective for me, because I felt like I was always more every team I played on. I felt like I was kind of always more of like the offensive minded players. I felt like I was relied on to score, relied on to. I definitely felt like most of the time I was a top six player on every team I played on. And even in Vancouver, my last year there, I scored 40 goals, which back then that was kind of the measuring stick. If you're scoring 40 goals, that's a very good year. And
Hmm.
he brought me into his office one day and he just said, "Okay, so you're." I hadn't scored 40 yet, but he's like, "Yo, you're having a good year," and he's like, "There's probably some scouts talking to you," and I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Okay, so you say you get drafted or you get signed and you're at the next level. Do you think you're going to score 40 in the NHL?" And I was like, "Well, I'd like to hope so." And he's like, "Well, you're not." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "You might not even score five." And he's like, "You might not even make the," and he was kicking me in the teeth. And I was like, and as a 19-year-old kid, I was like, "This guy, what does this guy know? Screw this guy," type thing. And I think my first year pro in the American League, I was like, "Holy shit, was he right?"
Okay.
And I think that I owe a lot to him, because there's probably lots of kids that didn't get that information or didn't have somebody like be real with them. And the fact that he told me how it was, and I guess he had been there before and seen however many kids like me come through. And I kind of changed the way I played, knowing that I wasn't going to get there as a top six player. I needed to kind of revamp my game, become a very good penalty killer, play physically, and um, just play with a little bit of an edge. And that's definitely what got me noticed and helped me make Arizona my first year there.
Yeah. And I guess this may be a hard question to answer, but like when you look at out of everyone that makes the NHL, there's 100 times more that don't, like what is it when you sit back and look at it? What is like, what is it that it took to make it, what would you say to somebody that wants to make it that it takes, or
I would say work ethic would be the number one trait that you need to have, because there's like, believe me, there's a thousand kids way more skilled than me that have better hands or a better shot or whatever. But I feel like the way that I got here was how hard I worked. And I think that's what's kept me here is how hard I work. But yeah, I think you got to get lucky too. Like you have to, especially to, I was even talking to my coach right now about this the other day. Because we're talking about shortened training camps and stuff. And I feel like most of the time you come into a year and you know who's going to be on the team just by contracts and how it's kind of shaken out. And I think when I came into the league, there was always maybe 2 or 3 spots available, or maybe not, but there was more of a chance that somebody was going to beat you out back when I was coming in. I guess than it is now. Like coaches kind of know who they want, they know what they're getting, and so you kind of got to get lucky. Like maybe you had a couple guys leaving free agency, they only signed one guy, and there's a few spots open, but. Yeah, it's definitely work ethic for me would be the number one thing you need to have. And like I said, a little bit of luck will get you there. That's for sure.
What exactly goes into work ethic? You know, like, is that off ice training? Is that like
for me, it was just, I every drill we did and train, like I'm just thinking back to when I made Arizona, it was every drill we did, I did it balls to the walls, and I wouldn't stop until the whistle went, and I felt like I was doing everything 110 mile an hour, and I think that's what definitely got me noticed there. And I think in the games I was just relentless on every puck, and and then obviously my summer training that year was pretty aggressive. It put me in pretty good shape to be able to play that way. And yeah, so as you get older, you definitely have to train differently. When I was 23, I was training a lot harder than I do now. I have to train a lot smarter just because you don't want to get hurt and stuff like that. But I think it's just, and even now, like I know I need to outwork guys, and it's just, I think winning I always break it down into winning every battle I'm in. I try and win every battle I'm in, and if I don't, then that's a loss for me, and I need to change that. And I think that usually helps me and my mindset. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because like I look back in the day when we'd play like Pee Wee and Bantam, whatever, and one thing that sticks out to me is like, I think most people on the team, let's say we were doing lines or something, you know, like most people would try and win, you know, and like stop at 1 or 2 feet away from the blue line and try and get back first, you know. But I remember for some reason, like I only remember it now. I mean, back then I probably didn't think much of it, but I remember that like, I feel like you were the one out of everyone I can remember that would go to the line every time and not cheat, you know. So I think that kind of speaks to your work ethic too. So
yeah, and I think like especially like coming from Leduc, and you know this, like the kids that were kind of expected to make it from Leduc, and they still played major junior and stuff, and like we always, like the JRs and the Joshes, like we remembered them, and we were always like, oh wow, they're, and I think that like I was never really the guy that, or the kid that people expected. So I think I kind of used the underdog, or I use that as like motivation to, I wanted to like prove people that, you know what, I might not have been the one that you guys were all talking about, but I'm going to be the one that's going to make it. And I felt like that helped me for sure.
yeah.
Being the one, I wanted to like prove people wrong. That, and even just going into tryouts, we'd be up with like our buddies, like in the stands. There'd be like a kid out there, and they're like, oh wow, he's good, and like I'd just sit back and listen. I'd be like, fuck. I'd be like, no. I want them to be saying that about me, type thing. And that was, I think that really helped me like early on, like especially around midget and junior age type thing.
Yeah, That's hilarious that you bring that up and mention that, because when I told my dad that I was going to have you on the show, he kind of mentioned that he was like, "Yeah, never in my wildest dreams did I think it was going to be Jordy Martinook." You know, like,
Yeah,
I mean, you were always probably the leading scorer on our teams, but you mention it, and there was those players in Leduc that would like make teams underage and still be the leading
yeah,
scorers in the league and shit, and didn't make it to the show. You know, so
yeah,
good for you, man. You did it.
yeah, yeah.
But I guess, yeah. Do you think that it was using that as fuel, like really helped you motivate? Like, because I mean, a lot of hard work needs to go into the off ice training and the practicing and like shooting in the backyard or in the garage, whatever, you know. So you need to motivate yourself somehow. And would you say that that was a big part of it?
Yeah, no, hands down, I would say that was definitely a major part of it. And I got like, I was got listed with the Hurricanes, and I got cut twice from them. So that was like another thing that just I like like I said, pissed me off, and wanted to just I felt like my whole career, I've always wanted, like, that's been my number one thing. I wanted to prove people wrong. And yeah, so that's definitely been a driving motivation behind everything. I just wanted to not stick it to people, but just, yeah, prove people wrong, like Lloyd.
Yeah, totally. I'll let them know.
Yeah.
So I guess now that you have made it to the NHL and have had a pretty successful career thus far, like what keeps you motivated now? Now that you've proven it to everybody.
Just, well, I'd say my family, knowing that definitely this is a job. And uh, I think the average NHL career is 4 or 5 years. And you don't have a lot of time to, I guess, that's what people don't understand, that we don't have a lot of time. That's, I guess, we get paid a lot, but it's not for a lot of time. So you got to make 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 your time count. And I want to set my family up for a lot of years. And obviously, I'm planning on working after I play hockey and doing something, but I want to keep my family comfortable. And especially now that I have a child, I want to set a good example for him. And yeah, just that's definitely my motivation behind it now, is trying to make as much money as I can. I know that doesn't
Mhm.
I still love it, and I still have fun with it, but it's definitely that's a driving motivation, because I don't know how many years I can do this. So it's definitely, I want to set these guys up as best as I can.
Yeah, nice. I saw on my roommate and I play a lot of NHL 21 on PS4, and I saw that you're rated to 79. So maybe your motivation should be getting up to an 80 or something, man.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't think I've ever cracked an 80, so 79 is pretty good for me.
You're getting there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I want to talk about leadership a little bit. If you think about your career, whether it be a coach or a GM or a captain, like who stands out as the best leader you've ever worked with?
Um, I'd say Shane Doan. Like, every time somebody asks me about leadership, it's always Shane Doan that comes to mind. It's my cat. He was the captain of Arizona my first 2 years there. And then obviously I got to see him at training camps, and I just seen him a lot before. Um, and just, I always tell people the way he treated people. And obviously the stuff he did in the dressing room, and the speech, like he speeches, and the way he led on the ice, but he treated people with so much respect. And I just found that um, that was just one of his best qualities. And people probably would say, like, oh, well, how did he lead people, or but I felt like that was almost the way he led, because it would rub off on you. It's like, okay, well, he would, it'd take him 20 minutes to get from his truck to the dressing room because he had to stop and say hi to every single person on his way into the rink. And there'd be 30 people that worked at the rink or were doing security or doing what, like dressing room attendants, all these people. And he would stop and say hi and have a minute conversation, ask them stuff that, like, he would really get to know people. And it showed even, like, he would just sit down and have a conversation with you, and he treated you just like he treated everybody the same. And I just found that so special, especially like a guy of his caliber and stature that's been around for so long and seen a lot of things that he could have just not worried about that. But the way that he truly cared about everybody that he came in contact with. So that's something that has stuck with me, and I try and do as much as I can. And definitely, I felt like I wasn't an asshole to anybody, but I would be short with people and stuff like that. So I definitely try and, even as simple as saying good morning to everybody that you see, or asking what they did the night before, and just trying to get to know people as best as you can. I think that's something, I guess you can take into anything, not just hockey. It's whatever. Obviously you in your profession, or it's something simple that people just can do that brighten people's day, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, in those situations, it can kind of feel forced if it's a learned behavior from somebody, you know, and it could come across as authentic. So basically, you got to, like, find a way to care, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel, and he did it so seamlessly that, because he'd get to know you. He'd ask, like, about your siblings or your parents. And my first NHL game I played, he came out and said congratulations to my parents. And my wife's parents were there, and my sister and my brother-in-law. He came out and had like a 20-minute conversation with my family. Just, and then that's like the stuff you're like, that just is like, who does, like, and my father-in-law and my dad are obviously huge hockey fans, and they're like, a chained own, and he's talking to us. It's just, yeah, the stuff that he did, whereas, and then he has a family. He's got a wife and 3 kids, and he's Superman in my eyes. So he was definitely one of the good ones. I played with Justin Williams, Mr. Game 7. He's not a big fan of that nickname, but I've never seen somebody approach the game like he did. Just the way he prepared, the intensity he played with was, I don't know. It's something that's hard to really explain, just because he treated every shift, and he would make it known, like he would, and the way when he talked, like everybody was just like, holy, it was almost like Herb Brooks from Miracle. Every time he talked, everybody just was dialed in, and you're listening to everything he says. But and then he led by example, obviously, with everything he did. It was, and obviously I got to play with him too. So I got to play with 2 pretty impressive guys. So I've taken little things from each and every one of those guys that I can, and try and implement them into what I do. But some things are just authentic to them, and you got to just kind of figure out what works for you. I run around naked, and those guys did their thing.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't teach you the naked lap, hey?
No, naked lap was myself.
That's awesome. What was it like getting named assistant captain for an NHL team? Like, and what's that process like? Do you get called into the office, or do they announce it in front of the team?
Yeah, so no, I wasn't expecting that at all. But after my first year here, I knew that had I had known I'd made like a positive impact on the team and organization. I felt like I had definitely found a home. And the way I just felt right. And I came back my second year, and I came back early, and yeah, Rod called me into his office, and he called me and Jordan Stahl and Jacob Slavin into his office, and he said, this is going to be our leadership group, and it's like, Jordan's going to be the captain, you two are going to be assistants. And I was shocked. I was happy and shocked, and I couldn't wait to like call my dad, my mom, and my wife. And yeah, that was definitely more. That's a highlight of my career for sure. Is being. Not many people can say that, so I take a lot of pride in that, and try and do the best job I can. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. And like, I'm curious, going back to you saying that all those like Shane Doan and Justin Williams giving those speeches in the locker room, you're just zoned in and listening to everything they say. Is there ever anybody that like steps up and starts talking and just like it doesn't strike a chord and everyone is like just thinking like, fuck this guy?
Well, that's probably happened when I talk a couple times. We have a pretty quiet team, and sometimes you can talk too much. I feel like I've been guilty of that at times, where you can just kind of sense that we're like, everybody's kind of maybe not into it 100%. So then you just keep talking and talking, and you start rambling, and then you kind of sit back and you're like, holy shit, I need to shut up and just let everybody like do their own like have their own process type thing. But I think once you get to this level, everybody respects each other so much. If somebody talks, it's you listen, and even if you're not 100% agreeing with it, then you just keep it to yourself and take a little bit from it. But that's everybody. The respect factor is definitely more here.
And like, let's say you see somebody like let's say even just a rookie that's struggling a little bit, and you notice it. What do you do as a captain and a leader on the team?
I think you just try and keep everybody involved as much as possible. Like Shane did. He'd go and sit with guys, and I feel like sometimes it's harder because you'll be on sometimes the way they do training camps and stuff like that, you're maybe not around them as much. But I've been around some teams where you're mixed with vets and rookies, and then you just try and just pretend everybody like you're all part of the team. Like, no matter, everybody's signed to contracts on the team, so it doesn't really matter if you play in the American League or the NHL. We're all rooting for the Hurricanes type thing. And I feel like some of the best exhibition games I've played in, it's been mainly rookies and a few vets. And I feel like it's almost like a thing to rally behind. It's like, okay, well, we're going into Tampa, they're playing Stamkos, Kucherov, all these guys, and we're expected to get blown out. And there's 6 of us that played on the team or in the NHL last year, and the rest are rookies or American League guys, and you go in and beat them. Like, and then you're so pumped after the game. That's what kind of brings people together. And yeah, it's just about when you're doing what we're doing, it's all about just trying to make people feel part of it. And I think this is like the Hurricanes organization does an incredible job at that. That's for sure.
That's cool, man. Do you have any teams that you like playing against most?
When I was in Arizona, I liked playing LA because I seemed to always score against them. I feel like I like playing Philly because I was a big Flyers fan early on. I feel like all the teams that you've scored against. So there's teams where I like haven't scored against them. I feel like I always play like shit against. And it's just some of the buildings. Like, I feel like every time I'm in Montreal, I just feel like the game is so fast, and I feel like I don't play very good in Montreal, which for some reason, and I love it there. Like, it's so cool to play in Montreal, but I feel like I'm never I never play good there. And at Carolina, we always struggle against the Rangers. So I feel like the Rangers, except in the playoffs last year. But yeah, I feel like there's the teams that you don't want to play against. That's probably a better question.
Are there any players that you don't like playing against? Because either they're so good or they're just like you think they're pieces of shit or whatever.
All like the big mean defensemen that
Yeah.
you're like. I feel like my game is I need to get in front of the net and battle and try and create loose pucks and tips. And so like when you play like Shea Weber and stuff like that, he just beats the hell out of you when you're going in front of the net. Chara, just because he's a monster. Like all the D-men that just play like with mean. A previous guest you've had, Eddie, he's kind of a dickhead to play against, so I'm not
Really?
looking forward to playing against him.
Yeah.
And then yeah, there's obviously like this, like Crosby and Ovechkin. They're just, and like all the best players you're aware every time they're on the ice. So I think everybody kind of knows the top player. McKinnon, no, I'll say this: McKinnon is probably the toughest guy to play against. And
Really? You've had a
McDavid
tally
is,
with him, haven't you?
yeah. My only fight in the NHL was against him, but McDavid is McDavid. He does everything so fast, and he's very, very good. But I feel like McKinnon he's if I could put it into perspective, McDavid is more of like a racehorse, and he's just a racehorse, and McKinnon is like a Clydesdale racehorse. He's
Strong.
so powerful and can fly. So is very so skilled. So I'll say McKinnon and all the mean defensemen out there.
Yeah. What do you think, like when you look at people that are leaps and bounds better than the average player in the league, like what's the difference in your mind between the superstars?
Probably I don't know, some of the mindset behind those guys, like even the guys on our team, like Svechnikov and Aho, and they just I feel like I'm trying to keep up to them where they're like wanting to be the best players in the league. So, and that's just I feel like a lot of it is you're good, but then you're kind of, they're born talented type thing. I don't know but then lots of them they get better and better. So, yeah, it's definitely the want to be the best player type thing that those guys have, and especially like the elite players. They all, like the McDavids and the Crosbys and all those, and Aho and Svetch on our team, they want to be better than, like, Aho wants to be better than Crosby. So, and then Crosby wants to be better than Aho. So I feel like whatever level the first line players want to be better than the other team's first line players. And I'm trying to be better than the other team's third or fourth line guys type thing. So it's always like the trickle down thing.
Yeah.
You know your role. Once you get here, you know your role. And I know my role, and those guys know their role. And yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. I would imagine, like, especially to have a long career, you got to keep learning and you got to keep striving to be better. So, like, let's say right now, what's on your docket? What's something that you want to get better at?
I feel like a lot of the game is played, like, especially if you're in the offensive zone, it's being able to, I guess, escape from a defenseman out of a corner type thing. Or if you watch a game, a lot of it is like give and goes. So I feel like to be able to be able to beat a defenseman one-on-one is pretty tough. But if can use I feel like being able to use guys and 2-on-1 guys and stuff like that. And yeah, that's especially at the NHL level where everybody's so good. It's very rare that you're going to beat somebody one-on-one. So it's being able to use your teammates and use players to be able to, I guess, beat guys and stuff like that. So that's something that I try and get better at all the time, is just being able to, I guess, use space and create maybe more space for yourself. Yeah, it's kind of hockey lingo, but it's
No, it's all good.
what works.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Interesting. And I guess one thing that I'm curious is, what would you say is the highlight of your journey so far?
um, Playing in the playoffs has been. I didn't get to do it in Arizona, and I've been lucky enough to play twice here in Carolina, and it's just different. The the feeling that you get, and I feel like I relish the feeling. I play better in playoffs, and it's just every game just means so much. And like when we last year when we had fans, the feeling you get when there's 20,000 people screaming their heads off is probably the coolest feeling going. But yeah, it's got to be playoffs just because you can't beat it.
Yeah,
It's so much fun.
that's right.
It's hard. It's hard. Like you put your body through hell, but it's unmatched. That's for sure. And if I could say a close second, it would be my hat trick, which I never expect I would
Yeah,
ever have gotten in the NHL, and I got one. So that's a pretty cool accomplishment.
yeah, that's huge. Where are those pucks?
They're upstairs actually. I got a
Yeah,
plaque, and yeah, so it's
nice.
they did it up nice for me.
That's awesome, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about low point? Do you have a low point where you'd consider it the rock bottom of your career so far?
Um, I I'd say probably after my second, well, going into my second surgery after, so at the start of last year, just like thinking that I was going to be back to normal and then having to kind of get it again. And then obviously, like we talked about, going through that mindset that I was, I, I was scared that I might not be kind of back to the player I was type thing.
Hmm.
So definitely, yeah, definitely that. I think that goes towards like like almost like the mental health aspect of it, where you gotta just kind of. I had I had to battle through that, and I felt like I did a pretty decent job at it. And there's definitely everybody battles some stuff, and I was definitely just low on it, but felt like I came out of it pretty good.
Did you see a sports psychologist or a psychologist or
We
anything
we
during
have
that?
we have one that we talk to, but I just felt like I did a good job on my own. I knew how to approach it type thing, and like I said, just go to the rink and be happy every day. I felt like that kind of brought me out of it.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome, man. Well, I think that's all I got. I think that's a great note to end on. I know you probably got some practice in the morning and a kid to tend to, so appreciate your
Yeah,
time, man.
yeah, no worries. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely, man. Yeah, and good luck with everything. Congratulations on all your success so far. I'm stoked for you, and
Yeah,
hopefully bring a cup home someday.
yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And I know you mentioned your old man's recovering, so give him my best and say
yeah,
hi to
man.
the family for me.
Yeah, he's got a brand new hip. I will do. Absolutely. And likewise, say hi to Mark and Wendy for me.
Yeah, will do for sure.
Okay, talk to you later, man.
Take care, Jeremy.
Okay, peace.
See ya.